Well, another season of Invincible has come and gone, and I, for one, am continuing to have a blast with this fun, exciting, awesome as hell show. Do I consider this latest season to be the absolute best yet? I don't know, actually, and I kinda wanted to talk about that. But before we get to that, I'm here in the flesh. You probably know what that means. It's time to talk about Rocket Money. I was gonna put on a superhero costume or something, but I didn't have one. Just use your imagination, I don't know. Anyway, I used to budget with spreadsheets, which could get a little confusing and overwhelming. Thankfully, I found Rocket Money. It's an easy-to-use app that helps you save more and manage your money better. I love using Rocket Money to set budgets. You can use the app to create a customized budget in seconds. The app shows you where your money's going at all times and identifies top spending categories with insights on how you can stay within your budget better. Rocket Money will notify you about upcoming charges or when your balance is low to help you avoid overdrafts and late fees. And we gotta talk about how easy Rocket Money makes it to cancel unwanted subscriptions. Once you connect your bank account, Rocket Money identifies all your subscriptions in a single list. From there, you can select the ones you don't want anymore, and Rocket Money may be able to help you cancel with just a few taps. Go to rocketmoney.com/ShayFrillis or click the link in the description to get started for free. You can also unlock even more features with premium. That's rocketmoney.com/ShayFrillis. Okay, now back to talking about the Invisible show. Season 1 obviously has the absolutely iconic Omni-Man arc that I've seen some people argue hasn't been topped by the show yet. It's hard to say for sure. I mean, I've loved a lot of the stuff we've gotten in these past 2 seasons, but it's hard to beat how raw that Season 1 finale was, both emotionally and gore-wise. Yet, I also feel like the writing has gotten more consistent in general the longer we've gone on. I thought some characters were underwritten or annoying in Season 1, and they've only gotten better with time. Hell, I hated Rex in Season 1, and now he's like top 10 best characters in the whole show. So overall, on an episode-to-episode basis, I feel like the show is generally the best it's ever been writing-wise. But then I took a step back to look at the season as a whole, and I have to ask, what was this season about exactly? Season 1 was obviously laser focused on the Omni-Man stuff. And while Season 2 was a bit more episodic, they made sure to slowly but surely build up the creeping threat of Angstrom Levy. This season didn't really have a hook necessarily. It was a lot of plot threads being continued and juggled, resulting in something that didn't feel quite as cohesive overall. Like, the season starts amazingly with the Mark vs. Cecil mini-arc. That really had me on the edge of my seat, wondering how that was gonna go. It was nice how you could completely understand where both of them were coming from. Though, I'll admit, I was a little more on Cecil's side. I mean, if he didn't commission Ezra Miller to create the Immortal Legion, that's the end of the world right there. Doc Seismic wins. But Cecil also could have been a little less retaliatory towards Mark. It was a sick as hell conflict overall. The next few episodes were still great. I like Oliver as a character and got invested in his warped sense of morality when it came to killing people. R.I.P. my beloved Maulers. Ah well, I'm sure they'll be back. More on that later. I also thought the stuff with Rex and Ray was very humanizing and sweet. From what I understand, this is a completely new storyline that wasn't in the comics, since Ray was originally a dude, and also he died against the Lizard League. It was cool how they finally gave some characterization to someone who's just been in the background since Season 1. And it obviously adds weight and tragedy to Rex's sacrifice. In theory. More on that later. The prison break with Omni-Man and Alan was also pretty cool. Maybe not as mind-blowing as I expected, it was a little stilted at times, just a tad, but overall pretty cool. Ultimately, I think what drags the season as a whole down a little bit for me were some of the standalone episodes in the middle. They were all solid, I don't think there's a bad episode of Invincible, but man, was it a little hard to get invested in Multipole, or the Future Twins, or the Dragon Guy, or even Powerplex. Look, Aaron Paul was a great fit for the character, but maybe constantly hearing Jesse Pinkman screaming about how much he wanted to fight Invincible didn't help me in terms of taking this guy seriously. Even ignoring that, I mean, the episode just treats him as a joke the whole time. They sent Shapesmith to take him down. Just Shapesmith by himself. I didn't really feel the weight and tragedy of his wife and son dying, because what did he expect to happen here? Why didn't she leave the room before letting Todd Chavez fry Invincible? I don't know, this character and the episode all about him didn't really land for me fully. One other miscellaneous complaint before we get to the last 2 episodes. I thought Eve was kinda boring this season. As soon as she became Mark's girlfriend, that's pretty much all she is now. It's nice seeing her support him, but I also liked her solo ventures and independence a lot in the first 2 seasons. Oh well, I guess. Let's talk about the Invincible War now. I was unbelievably hyped for this phenomenal sounding storyline. Then I watched the episode and...
It's alright.
I don't know, it felt a little disjointed with how many things were going on in the span of just a 50-minute episode. It was hard to fully orient myself in the terror the Invincibles were causing, since we had to cut between so many characters at so many stages of their fights. Like, how did Cecil and Donald end up like this? I don't know, man, we didn't have time to show it. The sheer amount of things happening was kind of a major factor in making Rex's big death scene towards the middle not really land with any of the dramatic impact I expected it to have. The whole time, I just couldn't help but think how X-Men 97 made a similar moment land with way more gravitas, style, and finality. It didn't feel like a footnote in its episode the way Rex's death did here. But the other main reason I didn't find myself moved by Rex's death much at all is because of one of my biggest pet peeves I've started to notice with the writing. No one in Invincible ever dies. I mean, good lord, we had 3 fake out deaths against the Lizard League last season with Kate, Ray, and Rex. Donald survived, Liu survived, the main villain of this arc, Angstrom Levy, survived. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad he's still kicking because he's an amazing villain. God bless Sterling K. Brown, man. His delivery of, "No, you didn't," is just gold. But when you bring back the villain who's famous for being the first person Mark ever killed, yeah, forgive me if a supposed dramatic sacrifice doesn't mean a whole lot to me. Yeah, I know how comics work. I know no one ever stays dead in comics, and the show is reflecting that. But like, again, Ray actually died in the comics, and the show brought her back anyway. It's hard not to feel a slight lack of stakes in this show anymore. Now, I will say, I have started reading ahead in the comics. I know there are some crazy status quo shifts and permadeaths coming in the future. That's awesome, but I am reviewing just season 3 of the show right now. And I'd be lying if I said the constant revivals weren't getting on my nerves a little bit. And yeah, the animation could be better. I find that a bit of a boring subject to harp on though. I mean, everyone's doing it. To the show's credit though, the fight with Angstrom and key parts of the Conquest battle did look really fluid and impressive. Oh yeah, Conquest was peak, by the way. Outstanding fight, outstanding villain, outstanding Jeffrey Dean Morgan performance. Oh baby, this episode lived up to the hype. Even if the rest of the season didn't build up to him like how season 2 built up to Angstrom. And even if we got 2 more fake out deaths with both him and Eve, oh my god, we get it. No one dies but Rex, apparently. Overall, the show is still great, but I feel like it really lost that ability to subvert and surprise like it could at the very beginning. The gore used to be shocking. The plot developments and sudden revivals used to be shocking. This is the first season of the show where, aside from maybe the Cecil stuff at the beginning, everything kind of played out more or less how I expected it to. I don't think this makes the show significantly worse or anything. I just think it makes it maybe a little routine. In many ways, though, I think the characters are stronger than ever. I like Mark's internal struggle when it comes to whether he should kill or not. I like that Debbie is getting some action. Good for her. And Conquest was very funny. Seriously, why is he like that? I'm giving season 3 of this show an 8 out of 10. Still great. I still love tuning in every week for the continued adventures of Vince and his little brother Olimar. But man, am I kinda itching for the show to get to some of the crazier shakeups I know are down the road. I'm sure the seasons to come will be dynamite. Good night, Las Vegas.